Despite mounting evidence, Schiff claims FBI's campaign spy is nonsense by Amy Moreno for truthfeednews.com. Russian conspiracy theorist Adam Schiff is once again ignoring the obvious and is speaking on topics using zero facts. Schiff, who still claims there is evidence that President Trump colluded with Russians, even though Robert Mueller has found nothing to suggest so, is now declaring there was never an FBI mole in Trump's campaign, despite mounting evidence that there was. This should not surprise us. Schiff calls the claim of a spy nonsense, while the rest of the world deals in facts that say otherwise. We'll take just a quick listen here of this idiot.
He's the top Democrat on the House.
Oh, we got this other one here.
Congressman Adam Schiff. Congressman, welcome back to Meet the Press, sir.
Thank you.
Well, I want to ask you about, you heard Roger Stone's denials when it comes to the specificities, and they're very specific denials. Just curious of your reaction there. Your committee did interview him. Do you believe his denials?
Well, look, Roger Stone is known for a lot of things. Candor really isn't one of them. And either his testimony before our committee was untrue or his public statements are untrue. Both cannot be fact because they're inconsistent with each other. We were never allowed to find out, which was the case in our committee. We should have used compulsory process to obtain his private text or Twitter messages with WikiLeaks, something that he was forced to disclose when they came to light. And so his public comments that he never had contact with WikiLeaks, that he never had contact with the intermediaries of the Russians, are inconsistent with certain facts, but we were never allowed to follow the evidentiary trail. I suspect that Bob Mueller is, and that's why so many of Roger Stone's Confederates are being brought in. But someone needs to do that investigation. Unfortunately, we were not permitted to.
I got to ask you about that. I asked Mr. Stone if he was preparing to be indicted. He said he was prepared if that is what it came. He wasn't saying whether he expected it soon. You're a former prosecutor. It is interesting to us, there are 4 people involved in this investigation that have not been interviewed by Bob Mueller. Michael Cohen, Brad Parscale, who's the president's campaign manager for 2020, by the way, Roger Stone, and the president's son, Donald Trump Jr. As a former prosecutor, why would Special Counsel Bob Mueller, somebody who not interview somebody even though they appear to be so important to investigation? Explain why that would be the case.
Well, it could be one of 2 reasons. It could be that they're saving those interviews, like the interview with the president, for last, after they've done all the groundwork. It makes sense to find out all...
Notice he had to get that one in, the interview with the president. Now they're pushing for that. The liberals are pushing for that, you know? I mean, it is really disgraceful. Really disgraceful, Adam Schiff.
Before you bring in certain key witnesses, or it could be that they're a target of the investigation. It is not something I think that you can breathe easy about, that you haven't been called in. Sometimes that might indicate that you are in fact a target of the investigation and you're more likely to be charged than interviewed. So it could be, I think, either of those possibilities.
Let me ask you about this controversy involving the FBI informant. This is something that your Republican counterpart in the House Intelligence Committee, he wants the Department of Justice to release more information about this informant. We now know who that person is. When did you become aware of this FBI informant?
I don't want to characterize what this individual may or may not be, but I do want to say the Justice Department, the FBI, even the White House, although clearly not the president, has said that revealing information about this individual could compromise people's lives. It could betray a relationship with our allies. It could compromise the investigation. And the president's response, and Chairman Nunes, Jordan, and Gowdy, and others, is bring it on. We don't care. Whatever is in the service of the president, we're willing to do. This is a dramatic and new and destructive low, I think, for the Congress of the United States. Basically to ignore the warnings of the FBI and Justice Department and potentially risk people's lives.
Really?
What they would like this information for is clearly to be of service to the Trump defense team and further any narrative they have. The most I can tell you, Chuck, is that This claim by the president, suggestion by Giuliani that there is a political spy embedded in the Trump campaign is nonsense. And you hear it in the same terms that Trump often speaks, which is people are saying, or I'm hearing, or we're being told. That's another way of saying this is patently untrue, but we would like to spread it anyway. And it's singularly destructive of our institutions, but then that's the point.
All right, but in fairness to the president and his supporters, they look at the history of this informant. They see that he was involved in political campaigns and possibly even political espionage in 1980, and they think, why shouldn't they be suspicious of this?
Well, again, I can't comment on the identity of any individual or source, but I can say this. This is part of a string of meritless allegations from the very beginning that I was wiretapped in Trump Tower, there's a vast unmasking conspiracy. The investigation began with the Christopher Steele dossier, all of which was untrue, but all of which, as you pointed out at the outset, is designed to create this alternate reality for Trump supporters to live in.
Very quickly,
alternate reality for Trump supporters, or are you creating an alternate reality for the Democrat supporters? I mean, really.
Confident the FBI acted appropriately?
I am confident. Everything I have seen, it would have been negligent for the FBI not to take steps to protect the country in the midst of information it was receiving.
I want to ask you about what appears to be potentially a bombshell new addition to what we know about the Mueller probe. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, talking about another Trump Tower meeting that may become infamous. Here's the New York Times headline: Trump Jr. and other aides met with Gulf emissary offering help to win election. How much can you tell us about some of the players in here? You have George Nader as the emissary of claiming he had two princes in Gulf state countries who were willing to help the president. Maybe Eric Prince is tied to this. Betsy DeVos's brother, also a supporter of the president. What do you know about this? An Israeli firm is included in here. What can you tell us about this?
Well, we sought to bring in George Nader, but the Republican members were unwilling to do so. He could have shed, obviously, a lot of light on this, as well as whether Eric Prince's testimony before our committee was true or untrue. I can say this: if these facts are accurate, it demonstrates yet again just how not only willing but eager the president's son and the Trump campaign were to solicit to receive foreign help. And I completely...
like the Democrats weren't eager to make up all the foreign help against Trump. I mean, this guy, I don't know what to say about this guy. Enough is enough. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.